One. All right. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another edition of the One Up Sales Development Podcast. For today's guest, I have for you one is someone special and unique. We actually connected not too long ago over a cool and awesome platform known as LinkedIn. And once I engaged with his personnel, I really love his background picture. I was like, man, it's really catchy. It reminds me of going back to the future. It's a nice, cool, and awesome, long, attractive hair. And, he's just like a really cool and confident guy. And as I dive a little bit deeper, I was like, okay, this guy, he's onto something. We got to get him on this podcast. And he has over 7+ years of sales experience. He started out over at FedEx as a field sales rep. And for those who are listening, you guys know I did an episode prior to my cousin-in-law, who was also a sales exec over at FedEx, worked his way up the ranks. He's coming from the front lines, true AE professional. He was the director of enterprise sales over at Juice, but now he is the CEO and founder of RevGenius. Please give me a warm welcome for the one and only Mr. Jared Robbins.
Hey, thank you so much for having me, Jackson. How are you today?
I am doing well. Jared, thank you again so much for hopping on the One Up Sales Development Podcast. We truly appreciate you. And that, I know we're just talking in the background right now, and you mentioned that you were at Juice and you're rolling something out. Tell us about that.
Yeah, so what I realized is during this COVID-19 difficult period where a lot of people are getting laid off, there's been a lot of virtual events and a lot of content getting thrown at us in all directions, and people leveling up, whether you're a company or a sales trainer doing that, and saw a huge opportunity because there wasn't a platform unifying that. Yet all these sales reps and sales managers were super hungry to absorb it. Enter RevGenius, a unified sales and marketing platform. Lives as a Slack today, but we're building out the MVP for more of a platform with that. So a spot for you to level up, and as a sales professional, not pay a dime to do it. Just have an organized single spot.
Damn, nice. I love that. Free, not a dime. One spot. Just learn it all.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I like that plug.
Jared, so for our listener here, just before we start diving deep a little bit more, can you go ahead and just give us a brief introduction of who you are and really how'd you end up in sales?
Yeah, no, great question. So I'm the son of a salesman. My dad has been a commission-only sales rep for 30 years in the outdoor space, selling brands like Columbia Sportswear and Solomon to outdoor shops. So I was around that culture my whole life. And I went to college super entrepreneurial, but I knew if I went to a job, I wanted it to be in sales. So majored in supply chain management at Penn State, found FedEx, as you alluded to before that I was there, because it was a combination of that supply chain, moving products or goods around, logistics, as well as customer facing. So I was in a Manhattan territory selling that, and was there for 6.5 years, which is like unheard of now, right? To stay in a role.
Yeah.
At FedEx, everybody's there forever. Great company, awesome stuff. And I decided to leave to go into technology because I achieved all the validation that I needed, right? President's Club, this and that, and transitioned to technology because I wanted that challenge. I wanted to get into e-commerce, machine learning, all of that. And I spent the last 7 years in software as a service. And actually, you said 7 years of tech. I've actually been in 14 years in sales, the last 7 in technology. So
nice.
Right until recently. And the whole time I realized if I wanted to start something in community, I know the salesman as well as anybody because I have been him, right? So I wanted to create something for me. I found myself super thirsty, bouncing around all week, doing this podcast, when I say podcast, like listening to this one, going to this sales training, going to this Outreach Unleashed, etc. And everyone had their own lane. And there's no single spot of truth, as you probably see. So I'm like, let's do that. Let's hang out with some other sales professionals who I know and love, and create something for them and something powerful to level up each individual and level up the profession, because this COVID times has taught us, that we're a community, and LinkedIn has further hammered that home with the support of everybody for each other. It's been great.
Yeah, I agree. And what you're just talking right there is what you created, and you mentioned it's the RevGenius, right? So let's dive a little bit deeper into that. And it's funny that you mentioned that, because I, for myself, had never attended a virtual event too until this year. And the first one was with like Unleash too. And, they could throw out some
Sure.
stuff. Hey, sign up here. What kind of topics you like to talk to, or what kind of topic would you like to learn, and what kind of topic would you like to see? And then they just send you a confirmation email, and you just slap that shit on your calendar, right? But it gets like scattered everywhere. It's like thrown left and right. It's like spread out throughout the days. And so diving into RevGenius, can you tell us a little bit more? Like, are you guys like making it like one simple place to attend and watch, or what is it we're looking at here?
So essentially, we're going to be aggregating all the events that are already out there. Day one, I don't foresee us creating our own content, but we're going to be organizing the content that's out there, whether it's podcasts, webinars, digital conferences, in-person conferences, because we will be able to see people in person again, contrary to what it feels like, blogs, etc. Really, really a place where a sales rep who's thirsty for knowledge and leveling up. And it seems like more and more sales reps today are falling into that category. And this is for you. This is for you. So today it's a Slack, and it's very much a community where everybody is talking to each other, giving LinkedIn Sales Navigator hacks, like how to Boolean search, how to best organize their accounts in their territory, how to overcome objections, and what's the new technology to understand the personalities of somebody based on their LinkedIn profile, which is crazy. I forget what it's called, but we were just looking at that technology the other day. Like talk to this person assertively, or talk to this person laid back, like that type of stuff. It's crazy what there's out there.
Oh, wow. Okay. That is funny, because I've actually been talking about this for quite some time too. And this is exactly, depending who you're speaking to, how they're receptive to, right? And this is where challenges come to, especially new and young SDR and BDRs out there. And one of it is being shy from the phone. Like, they're scared to pick up the phone, just being a little bitch about it and stuff like that. Then never do a cold call, never heard a cold call, don't even know what a cold call is. And I'm guessing this type of thing that you're mentioning right here would say, hey, this person would rather prefer phone than email. And if so, they're more laid back, they're more prone to making jokes, or they're more prone to, hey, keep it professional. Is that what we're talking about?
Yeah, so I don't know if it talks about like the mode, like whether it's call versus email, but it's telling about like how to talk to them, like challenge this person versus let this person lead, or something like that. That's just an example, but it looks at a LinkedIn profile and how somebody writes about themselves, essentially, to deduct all this. And I saw a close friend of mine's like layout, and some of it was spot on, some of it was a little off, because I think he's like a little nicer than it showed, but fascinating, man, and really cool. And today, in regards to helping the SDR out, you have tools like playbooks that are live, right? You have your pitch on the, whether it's chorus, gong, or the new thing, you have talk tracks going.
Yeah.
And it's right there. And you have your calls recorded, and you have sales managers coming in real time. It helps the organization. I don't know if it makes the rep more comfortable or not, because if they're scared to if they're scared to do cold calls, and now their cold call that they're scared about is getting recorded, but it definitely helps the organization. And if you have like the good qualities of a rep, like you're coachable, you're hungry, you're humble, you're going to take that and learn from it. So that's good. But there's a ton of, from an SDR perspective, from a calling with the SDR perspective, there's a lot of that. And, to go on like a tangent, like with SDR and outreach a little bit and what's going on is like Jake Dunlap is just doing LinkedIn outreach now, which is fascinating. And they're booking more meetings than before. And he's an old school cold caller. So I love these experiments going on, and some of which are with better technology and some of which are with new methods. Obviously, sending video and voicemail on LinkedIn is the new cat's meow, et cetera, et cetera. There's a lot of tools for people.
I think that's pretty cool. I never heard that tool until you just mentioned it right now. And I can definitely see the value in that. And I would imagine it might be some kind of AI scraping through the profile, seeing what your comments are, reading the words. And are you more of a person who likes to just teach people things? Are you just throwing things out there? And I would imagine they would go ahead and come back with the results and say, hey, you should reach out to this person by doing this and that. Interesting. Hey,
yeah, I mean,
Gerald,
it's interesting space. Yep.
Gerald, I want to dive in deep in something real quick. So you have about 14 years of sales experience, man. That is, that's money. # money, money. You've been in the game. You're from the front.
The bruises are hidden.
Yeah. You're from the front lines for the front lines. And when we were first connected, and I have this thing for scanning profiles myself and just really getting deep and picking your brain and seeing who you really are. And I really love all the things you do and been doing. I can tell you're front line for the front line. Like your bio says too, you say to prize myself on being the forefront, learning new sales techniques each time.
Yeah.
So you 14 years, 7 years in FedEx, 7 in tech. Like what really made you do that horizontal jump? Because normally when, like you mentioned, a lot of people, if they're there for a long time, hit President's Club and like, oh, fuck
at FedEx,
this.
yeah.
I did it.
In particular.
I'm good, man. I'm stay here. I got my shit down. I ain't going nowhere. But you wanted to challenge yourself. And that's what the same type of person I am to myself, because you always say, all right, boom, I did it. Okay, what's next? So where did you pick up this mentality? Who taught you that? Or is it something you learned by just continuous improvements? What happened there?
That's a great question. So essentially, in high school, I made my first business plan, TJB Auto Detailing, and I was ready to start an auto detailing business with 2 of my best friends, Troy and Brian. Troy, Jared, Brian Auto Detailing.
Shout out to Brian.
TJB, right? And I actually posted about Brian on LinkedIn the other day, how he was the impetus for getting into tech. So, had this entrepreneurial mentality. Went to school at Penn State, great school, but started putting myself in a box, and that box wasn't entrepreneurship. And frankly, I was scared to be an entrepreneur, as a lot of people are. There's no safety net. There's no money. I wanted to get out of my house as quickly as possible. And that wasn't going to be a means to do it. FedEx was interesting. It got me out of my house. Sales was interesting. It got me into an entrepreneurial-ish role, like where you could control and like bring business on and be the lifeline. That was cool. Now, why'd I leave FedEx after like getting all this validation and 4 promotions in 6.5 years or whatever is the question. And it was because, of that executing it fully. I stayed at FedEx because there was a recession and it was a safe job and I needed a little more validation, right? I was still young and I needed self-validation and I got it from promotions and I got it from awards. And a lot of young folks do that. And that's normal, I think. So, got that. And I realized, okay, I don't want any more. I'm bored. I don't want to keep doing the same thing here because, the company's, it's growing, but it's going around in circles and it's not interesting. Technology was interesting. And I could really, really maximize my ambition and my intelligence jumping into technology because there's a lot of smart folks and in general, the people are really forward thinking, really outside the box thinking, really smart, always thinking the new thing. FedEx or an old school Fortune 100 company is like, play it safe. And it depends on the type of person you are. And I was the type of person not to play it safe. So, took a pay cut, went into tech, flew by the seat of my pants. I was homeless for 2 months living in an office building. not getting paid on time. And we went to Series A profitably. I believe so. Somebody told me that, but we went to Series A. Peter Thiel, the first investor in Facebook, one of the PayPal mafia, along with Elon Musk. And I went from a safe job to an unsafe job. And I did it because I was ready to take that risk on the entrepreneurial part with a little bit of a safety net, right? Like where I would get a salary and try to earn commission.
Yeah. Okay, man. I love that. Let's talk about that. So it seems to me when you make that horizontal jump, your first experience and, to really get that feel was over at Granify. And you mentioned right now you were homeless for about 2 months, living in the office.
I lived in an office building, and it was because I kicked myself out of my ex-girlfriend's place. Like, we separated and I didn't have enough money because I was still paying half the rent.
Oh, fuck.
And I didn't have enough money for 2 places. I didn't want to move back home. I had an old client from FedEx that gave me a pull-out bed in an office building, and there was a shower in the hallway.
Oh, damn.
So for 2 months, I was paying half the rent for my ex-girlfriend to do the right thing. And
Gotcha.
and so yeah, that was an edgy experience.
What? Wait. So that during that 2 months, was this when you just left FedEx, or is it when you started Granify? What's the time frame look like over that time?
It was at Granify. It was
Shit. Okay.
It was within my first 6 months at Granify.
Gotcha, man. So this is exactly why I love interviewing like sales professionals like you. You're coming from the front lines, went through some bump and bruises. Let me ask you this. So now that you're with you and your success today in tech and SaaS / sales development, what's during your time when you first started at Granify, which was about 7 years ago, give or take, what's changed?
Yep. What's changed in software sales?
Yeah, like prospecting.
Yeah,
stuff like that.
I'll tell you exactly what's changed. Sales enablement. Sales enablement
Ooh.
didn't exist that hard 7 years ago. Perspective. You know how LinkedIn Sales Navigator up until maybe 3 months ago in Gmail had like the side piece like that, like would populate like the name of whoever you put in? Do you know that tool?
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah.
That was Reportive, a company called Reportive. That was sales enablement. We would guess emails in Gmail, and if that populated, that meant we guessed right.
Yep.
Okay, there was no email scraping tools like there are today. And maybe there were, but there was not even, there's probably 1/10 tops as many. And like, we didn't know it. And there was no outreach. We used like Tout App, and then we used Yesware. Yesware is still around. And then we used Outreach. And there was no Chorus or Gong. Sales enablement, the growth of sales enablement is probably the biggest, most obvious thing. That space in the last 7 years, like, blew up in a big way. And also 6-7 years ago, SDRs were trickling in. It wasn't the norm. Okay. Maybe 5 years ago, SDRs started coming in on the regular. But 6-7 years ago, it was not the norm. You were a full cycle sales rep. So those two big things are like, and you speak to anybody and they'll tell you, and also, just like from an outbound perspective, from a full cycle sales rep, you're doing more calls than today, and emails were hitting more. Like, you were able to convert a much higher percent of emails. So you might have been manually sending emails like one at a time, or like with some rudimentary technology, but you were hitting on more of them. So like if you sent 25 emails in a day, you'd probably get 2 to 3 meetings, which is not bad. As you know, that's not bad.
Yeah. And you're talking about that back in the days when you're sending like 25.
Yeah. So you're saying like, yeah. So if you send 25 emails today, you're hoping for 2 to 3 responses.
Yeah.
You know?
All right. I love that.
Actually, that's exactly it. You're getting 2 to 3 meetings then. Now you're hoping for 2 to 3 responses. and they're not going to be all positive.
Majority of them's like, hey man, unsubscribe. Okay, let's talk
I mean,
about
all
this.
the you have to be. We were super creative back then, super creative. Like, we're really connected.
Yeah,
But now, there's just so many more players in, like, let's say MarTech space, for instance, than there were then. I think there's like 7,000 players
yeah,
that you need other tools, and you don't just need other tools. You need copywriting prowess if you're going to email, right? Like there's some great sales trainers that have this down, like the Josh Brons of the world. Morgan Ingram's great as well on their outbound, but like you need them because you need to really think outside the box and be really creative to get in the door today.
yeah. Hey, I love that. So let's do this. I like you spill something. So copywriting, it's a big topic recently. You're starting to see it a lot over and over. And from my understanding, I see it's really just the way you ask and just building valuable, something valuable, like worth talking, and letting them know that you you're credible, and you actually did your research and stuff. But in your eyes, what's successful copywriting to you?
So successful copywriting is today it challenge your sale, right? Like that's like one of the popular methodologies books out today. It's pretty much saying that the customers are smarter now than ever, in the sense that they've done the research, they know the landscape before going in. You're not going to teach them anything that drastic, and you need to go in having an idea of potential problems or challenges that they might have, because you've dealt with other people in that space, right? Like if you're like most people in MarTech, depending on what you're in, you have A, B, or C, and there's a good chance one of those issues are there. And it's also big in regards to not product selling anymore. You're solution selling. That's a big thing. You're finding a gap that they have and selling a solution to close it, right? So
Yeah.
where in the past you'd say, hey, reaching out to you because you're awesome, or something like that. Granify is a really cool machine learning technology that helps you convert more customers. We work with clients A, B, and C. Think you'd really be interested? Do you have 15 minutes this week? Where that was yesteryear. And they weren't that different than that, what I just said, at all.
Yep.
At all. And actually, that's a good one from back in the day, right? Like, they were worse than that. Like, that's quick and concise. Now, you have to be under 100 words. And we knew this. We knew this 7 years ago. Not everybody knew this, but we did, because my colleague came from Groupon and he brought it in because Groupon blew up, and their CEO is like 75 words or less on the email. So we knew that. Be concise.
Yep.
But today it's not, from a copywriting perspective, it's not enough being concise. You cannot be product centric. You have to be customer centric, but you have to be customer problem centric, right? Knowing their space as well, if not better than they do. And that's big. And I know that's like kind of high level copywriting, but like that's like the skeleton of it. And I help customers solve business problems with SaaS technology.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter what SaaS I have. Like, it's all about your business problem.
Yeah. I agree. And it really is just knowing how to ask. Like you said, you gotta be an industry expert, right? I mean, if you don't spend the time on them, why would they want to spend the time on you? And really, it's just like, hey, I found X, Y, and Z. I'd love to share with you, Jared. I think it will help. Would you be open to that? And just keep being persistent. You know what I really like too, Jared? You mentioned back in the days, like 7 years ago, everyone was doing the SDR work, but it was like full cycle. And now it changed down to about, just breaking it down, but just 5 years ago when it's just become the SDR thing just blow up. And it's funny because I see a lot of people too, sometimes they say, hey, I really believe, like, there's people out there who claims, I'm just going to throw it out there, man. Fuck it. There's people out there who claims, hey man, I'm an SDR 20, 30 years ago. No, man, you were a full cycle sales rep, dog. You just didn't have that. As SDR, BDR is different now. And the reason why is because things had changed. Things are now available that wasn't available last time. There's now social touches that didn't have before. But more importantly, the technology that's now available to you to do your outreach to be successful, to truly reach out to them and really learning how to utilize that tool, like Outreach, SalesLoft, Yesware, Reply.io,
Sure.
Apollo.io, PersistIQ. There's a lot of them. And
plug. Yeah.
Yeah. And
There's
being
so
SDR, BDR, you got to be tech savvy, right? If you're not good with computer, with multitasking and just being able to type the words, and you're really not an SDR, man. I mean, give or take, phone is one of them, but there's some people out there that I know they claim they're SDR and BDRs, but they're only phone centric. And it's like, man, you're just cutting yourself short, You just hit that speed dialer, sit on the phone all day, every day. No, dog, you're just an appointment setter, man.
Well, you could argue that that's what an SDR's job is, to get meetings on the board, right?
Yeah.
And today you have to be so creative and use so many different modes to outreach. To try to be a full cycle sales rep today is harder than ever because the clients are harder to get into and the creativity is needed. So like you'll spin your wheels. You could do it in certain spaces if the product is like the cat's meow and you have a brand name and all of this. But if you have like a dime a dozen product, which a lot of people do, marketing agency, for instance, dev shop, you need a lot of more time to get in. And the irony is the two examples I gave are like two of the last ones to have that set up because the margins are so small, but you need it.
Yeah, no doubt. Oh, I love that, man. Hey, Jared, I want to ask you something. So, notice you were a mentor at Bravado. Pretty familiar with Bravado. Are you still a mentor for them today?
So I'm not really active with that. I don't have any mentees through Bravado, but I've taken a few kids under my wing, adults, sellers under my wing, because a lot of people have reached out through LinkedIn, and I'm happy to have a conversation with anybody that's a positive person, period. And it's responsibility to the universe to do right.
Yeah. Quick question, since you were helping there for a minute, what really is Bravado? Because I remember looking at, there was one down here. They're like, hey, SEO, you be an AE, make this much amount of money, 6 figures and stuff like that. Was that really the stuff over there? Or is that just one of them things? That's
what do you mean,
ask.
Bravado? Wait, that Bravado?
Yeah, is Bravado SEO? Is that the same one I'm talking about? I might be
no.
Different
So Bravado essentially, Bravado is a network. I believe they have like 60,000 users. It's a mentorship network. So everybody's on there to learn and to learn specifically through mentors. And you don't get paid, or at least I didn't get paid. I don't think people get paid. It's just like goodwill and karma and love.
Gotcha. Never mind. I have it for the different one that I had. It was also named Bravado too. I guess it must be a different one.
I had a client called Bravado that was under Universal Music that did tour T-shirts for the band as well. Bravado Music Group. So I've heard Bravado in a few different ways.
Yeah. All right, for sure. So hey, I remember your for just writing the profile, it says something about off funnel. Can you talk to about your experience when it comes to off funnel? It's like you had
so that just goes back to the full cycle, right? Yeah. Like I've done outreach. I've scaled outreach. I've literally used outreach to do both of those things. Nice. Outreach.io. Always take meetings, close meetings, bring things through the whole pipeline from entering opportunity to moving it through the funnel to hitting closed won, closed lost, or changing the date to the future. tabling it.
Yeah. I'm curious. So coming from a sales professional like you, let's say if there's a listener right now, AE at a tech and SaaS company, and they're doing a lot of demos. So when it comes to you and your expertise, what makes a good demo? What's a bad demo? And how do you get better at your craft?
So to get better at your craft, you got to learn, right? You got to read, you got to talk to people that are smarter than you, that have done more than you, et cetera. And you need to learn through experiences, having people shadow you on calls and things to that effect. A good demo versus a bad demo, and a good sales process versus a bad sales process, once you're meeting with customers in general, is just, it starts with your discovery process, right? Like that's probably one of the most important, if not the most important area to, in sales. And Keenan in particular, give him and Rachel May a plug in gap selling. In discovery, you're understanding present state and desired future state, and the financial gap in between there, right? And asking them questions to uncover challenges today that's causing them not to get to their future state that you could solve. And going into that discovery meeting, you have a list of everything you can solve, right? Like in typical problems that company A, B, or C would have. And then also root causes behind that, right? Like, so, okay.
Nice.
We're not getting enough meetings if you're selling sales enablement. Well, is it the meetings or is it the close rate? Like understanding the process, and if you don't hit your goals, what does that mean for you? Is it you lose your job? Is it your company doesn't get its funding? Is it you can't go public? So now you're building like this whole picture, this whole gap. You're like, whoa, this gap, and this is all in like discovery. And if you demo before finding that, like how less powerful is this conversation, right? So now you have a gap. You realize this gap is $30 million and your solution is $300,000. That's a cheap price for $30 million, right? Like, so you're like, so now your demo, after learning all that, speaks to their problems, very customer centric, but not just customer centric, problem centric, hitting them all off, and essentially showing them why you're the solution to close either the full gap or a good enough portion of it, and it makes sense to use. So when you have a good discovery before the demo, probably on a different day before the demo, you're going to be able to have a presentation, a demo, if you will, that's more likely to hit home and make them feel warm and cozy and that they need your product.
Oh my God. Yes. This is, that was the price of admission right there. I love that, Jared. You pretty much just hit the nail on the head with every steps. Right? You mentioned you should always have a list of A, B, C, what they should already be having. Like, hey, these are what other people's are
problem identification chart. Yeah.
Yeah. And then you go, and then you find the root cause of that. And that's what I see a lot of AEs out there don't really do that. They just said, hey, thanks for booking the time, or, thanks for showing up. Here's what we do, X, Y, and Z, etc. And you right there, you said, hey, you're getting to the root cause of that. Like, what's causing this? And so let's talk about alignment too. And this is very valuable for the SDR and AEs when they're listening to this episode, right? Because it's very common. We see this a lot too. After I interviewed a lot of SDR leaders, this is actually kind of common. You mentioned they come in and they should already know exactly what the causes are, but a little bit deeper in that, like if this is an AE,
you're talking about demo day now, right? Like you should know all of this. And you're going for the demo. Is that what you mean? Okay.
Yeah. Let's say the AE goes, all right, man, I need to find this information, and then what other ways can they do it? Because majority of the time, what I see is they're just looking at the notes from the SDR that they filled in, whether it's in Salesforce or whatever CRM they're at, HubSpot, Copper, and they're just looking in.
Sure.
But how can they take the additional step and dive deeper as an AE before the demo?
So I guess it's up to the person creating the structure to make sure that the right questions get asked. And this is a question like, are the SDRs in a position to ask this, or should the AEs ask it? Who does the qualification? Like, so there's, I guess, a qualification and then a discovery. You know, it's a case by case, right? Because if you're going after logos, like enterprise, right? Like, you're going after Amazon, you're going after whatever.
Yeah,
bro, they can afford you. They can afford you. Like, you don't need to ask those stupid questions. You just got to go and get the discovery. In my experience, the person that demos should be asking the questions probably, right? Because they're coming up with the presentation.
Yeah.
So SDR, yeah. So does that make sense? Like, I think so the SDRs put in whatever notes, the AE needs to schedule a discovery call, whatever happens before. And that discovery call can't be on the same day as the demo, unless the product's like a $500 product, because then whatever.
Gotcha.
Like, if the product's a $500 product, or $300 or $50, like if the product's Gmail,
yeah,
and you have a team of 10, it's like, okay, I know you need to send mail. Like, it doesn't matter as much.
Yeah, you know, okay, I like that. That's what I
But
see.
if it's $100,000 product, yeah, you have to learn.
Yeah. Yeah. You know, that's funny. A lot of AEs with a smaller ACV, they don't do that, you know, and I really believe that it would increase their success rate if they truly understand more, like what you just mentioned. Hey, do another discovery call before the demo. It's just like, hey, this is, got the notes from this guy, from SDR, just to confirm this is what he said. Are we missing anything else? And then just on demo days, like game day. Nice.
Yeah. So, like, if I'm selling you something, right? Like,
Yeah.
you run a podcast. Like, how many people, like, we were talking about this before.
Yeah.
Tell me about your podcast today. You know, I have X number of thousand people. Great. Is that where you want to be? Like, are you chilling? No, I need to be here. Why aren't you there? Hear me out. Do you find that people aren't seeing your podcast? Like, you're posting, so you tell me you're posting on social, but how many people are coming from you doing that? Like, you're doing the best practices. You're posting on LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Google. Yeah, you're doing that, whatever. Got it. You know, if you hit this 10x goal, what does that mean for you? This much money. Yeah, but like, what else? Like, let's feel it out. Like, oh, you know, we're growing this way or that, and you're understanding this picture, and then you're like, I can help you hit that goal, man. and then I mean, you don't really say that, but he knows. And you're coming to me. You're coming at me, and you're saying, how do we do this? You're asking me, right? Because I call it the doctor sale. And or you know, when you go to a doctor and something is wrong, it says, what hurts? My elbow. Does it hurt when you do this? Does it hurt when you do that? Hurts when I do this, not that. When did this start? Have you tried to take Advil? I've tried to take Advil. Have you tried to take Tylenol? No, I haven't. God. Whatever that doctor tells you to get that pain away, you're going to do. Right?
Yeah.
Assuming it's covered by insurance or it's in your budget.
Right.
You're going to do it. Now, let's say it's not Jared going in. It's Derek Jeter going in, right? Like, when he was still playing. And now him getting fixed is worth a little more than just feeling good.
Yeah.
Right? It's worth multi-million-dollar contracts that. So now Derek Jeter's going to pay a little more, right? To get, you see where I'm getting? The gap is bigger.
Yeah.
That's like the best example.
Nice.
Right? Oh, so you're playing for the Yankees. Oh, your contract's over and you have a chance to make $30 million a year. Do you care if it's covered by insurance? Fuck no. Fix me.
That's right. Oh man, I love that. That's how you do it. Big, just filling in that gap, tying it in, and closing it out, man. That's how you do it.
So you got it. Like you have two people with their elbow busted, but because they have different goals and different like possibilities to get there, you have two clients with their sales process busted or with whatever you're selling busted, but understanding where their future state is and what those things behind. Did that analogy kind of like help like accentuate it? Like,
Yeah, love it. The doctor. Can imagine myself in that room just throwing your elbows around,
yeah.
Hey, Jared. So another quick question. So I saw this. I believe it was on Jay Burrow's post one time, and it's about before, like right when you get in a demo, they found out like doing the introduction and just throwing out there what the purpose and what they're trying to achieve within the call has been a lot more effective than those who does it at the end of the call. For instance, like we come in, hey Jared, thanks for hopping on the One Up Sales Development podcast. What I'm hoping to achieve today is for you to share your story and perhaps teach the crowd something new in terms of sales development, and that's pretty much it. Would that be all right? And just doing that in the beginning, then at the end of the sales process or the discovery call, they found it more effective or something. What do you think about that?
Yeah, it's an upfront contract. I think its roots were in Sandler sales.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's just a courteous way to operate, right? It's I think there's some psychology behind it. It's like a common practice. I think that there's nothing wrong with it. Period. Why not? But keep in mind, no gap, no sell. So you could say, Jackson, we got 30 minutes. Is that cool? Is there anything you want to add to the docket? Yeah, I want to talk about this. You don't go in and you don't find that gap. I don't care what you're saying at the beginning, right?
Yep.
So yeah, toss it in, sure, but no gap, no sale.
Yep. That 100%,
no gap, no
man.
sale.
No gap, no sale.
So you can go to the doctor. The doctor's like, I got 30 minutes today. He doesn't ask you if you're how your elbow does, or ask you the right discovery questions to figure out the gap, or he doesn't realize that you're Derek Jeter and he thinks you're a normal person and gives you Tylenol. He's like leaving a lot on the table or probably losing the deal.
Yeah.
Even if he tells you you have 30 minutes, right? And gets that upfront contract. So the upfront contract is great. It's I believe in it. I do it. But finding the gap part is critical.
Yeah, exactly. And this is exactly what B2B is too, right? Like they're not reaching out just to see a demo, man. There's an actual pain there. It's like, hey man, what can you do to make my life easier, make some money faster, whatever.
Yep.
I love that. Jared, so I know we're running up against the hour here and the time. Just before we close things out, I just want to ask you, so you were the director of sales, enterprise sales over at Juice, and you're rolling out RevGenius. Like what's next for you based on your experience?
What's next? Yeah. Let's get RevGenius rocking. Let's do that for the next 10 years. Now I'm it's very much bootstrapped. So looking for enterprise individual contributor role, because I want to continuously learn. I just want to sell, man. Always. So I'm super entrepreneurial. I'm hungry, but if the right opportunity came up that had me in a selling role, selling SaaS or some sort of technology, 6-figure deals, 7-figure, definitely open for it, especially if it was with a strong company with a good leadership. And as a plug good leadership all day long. It's more important to work for a good leader that'll help you level up, help you hit your quotas the right way, help you learn, help you achieve whatever goals you have and be empathetic to you, than it is working for like a cool vanity company.
Okay, damn, that I love that. So I know we said it's like the last thing, but I just gotta pick your brain on this. So you mentioned, your next opportunity, if it shows up, you gotta find the right leader. There's a lot of SDR and BDRs right now that got let go. They're on a job hunt, and for them, this is a great takeaway for them too. So let's say if they were to take that approach, which is great, which should be the approach by the way, instead of just taking that salary or that limited vacation or snacks and shit like that. What are a few things they can do to make sure that the leader is right for them in terms of like physical action? Like, do they just do one-on-one with them? Are they just picking their brains? Do they have coffee with them? Like, what would you throw out there?
So definitely pick their brains. Ask, reach out to some people that work there. Talk to people that are working there. Like, you want to know a few different things, right? You want to know, are people hitting their goals? Are people happy?
Nice.
What's the day-to-day like? What's the leader's demeanor like? Make sure that you vibe. Like, make sure that they're not like a militant, unless you need a militant, and that's you. I mean, it's not me, but I get that it is some people. I've worked with people that respond well to that just because of their upbringing, right? So, interview people at the company, interview past clients of the company if you can, like if it's appropriate, like understand the product, why they bought, etc. Oftentimes that might be overstepping boundaries before you get in, but like when you're in, that's a good step one. But talk to the leader, like look up their track record, ask about them.
Nice. That's it, man. All you really got to do is just ask. Love it. All right. So, hey, Jared, man, really, really glad you're able to come and join the One Up Sales Development podcast. We're truly happy to have you on here. If there's one takeaway you can give them if there's one takeaway, like let's say there's a new SDR and BDR listing right now. They just graduated. Oh, fuck. 2020. I just graduated. I'm 24, 22 years old, hit with the COVID.
Yep.
That's one thing that you would leave with them to, help them one up their game. And what if they want to reach out to you and say thank you? What's the best way to reach out to your brother?
So hit me up on LinkedIn, Jared Robin, JaredRobin, LinkedIn.com/in/Jared Robin, one word.
Nice.
In regards to one-upping their game, I'm looking up this awesome leader that's actually part of RevGenius.
Nice.
So essentially the gist is he wants people hungry, coachable, and I think like moldable, right? Like I think that's coachable, like humble, hungry, coachable, like have those characteristics. Hungry and persistent, I think they're synonymous. I think that's a great trait. And being coachable is big too. So you want to be hungry, but you want to be able to take a foot off the gas and understand that you don't know everything.
Damn.
I don't know everything. And I've been doing it longer than you. And I'm not even close to knowing everything, right? Be open to learn. It's a great quality that people want on their team. And be hungry.
That's it, man. There it is.
And learn from, be coachable, learn from them, and then go off on your own and learn as well. Like learn every which way. Learning is so important. And that's why RevGenius is a beautiful project. It aligns closely with like my values in that.
I love it. And there you go, guys. Jared, thanks again for hopping on the One Up Sales Development podcast. And for those who's listening, be sure to check out RevGenius and upload for your game, baby.
Thanks, Jackson. Have an awesome day.
You too.